All right, we got Cowboys questions heading into camp. Awesome article from our buddy Joseph Hoyt, Cowboys beat reporter, now back with the Dallas Morning News. But this morning, there was a conversation had on Get Up on ESPN, and they kicked around this question. Is Dak set up now for a monster year with your Dallas Cowboys?
Dak and that talent on the edge, with him having the freedom of some health and a new head coach, I think it becomes more Dak's team, and he puts up big numbers, and the receivers, both of them are happy.
You mentioned Dak does win big when he's coming off injury. After missing the final 11 games in 2020, he went 11-5 the following year, and then after missing the final 5 games in 2022, he won 12 games and threw 36 touchdowns the next year. So if the pattern holds, Kevin, Dak should have a monster year, don't you think?
Yeah, if he's healthy. But that's true of a lot of guys.
If he's healthy, are they good enough on offense for him to add to this kind of chart?
Yeah, this kind of chart. I just don't see a ceiling as a team that's significantly higher than it has been the last couple of years. They're the third best team in this division. I don't see any way they close the gap, not only with the Eagles, but with the Commanders. That's just a more talented roster in Washington right now. So I think Dak's going to have a vintage Dak year, and it might not matter. That's the unfortunate thing for the Cowboys right now.
Wow. So Kevin Clark with, hey, yeah, Dak could have a bounce back year. And hey, those numbers from that they mentioned in the beginning of the clip, that's all true. Dak's bounce back after an injured season has been absolutely brilliant. I think we're all looking at the offense has the potential to be pretty damn good when you add George Pickens with Tyler Booker, with Guyton being into year 2, a new offensive line coach. Can that hopefully reinvigorate and get Terrence Steele back on the right track year 2 with Cooper Beebe at center? Like there's reasons for optimism offensively, but will it matter? Like if Dak goes out, has an excellent season, hey, 2 years ago, runner-up for MVP, but again, you were one and done in the postseason. And I guess it did make me think of the conversations we've been having about how woeful the defense could also be. I mean, there's definitely, you can make cases for both sides of the ball where reasons for optimism and also like ultimate disaster. But I think when we look at it, the ceiling for the offense probably much higher if they're able to hit their peak. Defensively, because of the injuries, that has the possibility to be really, really bad.
Yeah. As you almost no spillage, knock over the drink, no spillage. That was impressive. Yeah, I think that the defense, of course, is what scares me most. And in those years that Dak and the offense were crushing, they were usually doing it against the poor defenses. They were inflating their numbers versus the poor defenses. It looks like you have a pretty tough schedule. Mm-hmm. And we won't know till we know week to week. Maybe a team that we think is going to have a good defense doesn't. But I think that's something that has to be considered here. And the fact that I think this is going to be a defense that's really going to struggle, at least early on, new defensive coordinator and way too many injuries and a run defense that's still a question. The back end, like I think that's the biggest issue that I have with the team going into the season. I can squint and see that, okay, this offense could click and that could be awesome. But one, can they consistently do it versus good defenses? And two, your defense is I think going to be a huge problem.
I don't know about. I'm trying to look and see Washington and Dallas roster comparison here. Because Kevin Clark, you're the third best team in your division. I mean, I do think there's going to be regression here for both Philly and Washington. I think naturally that's going to happen. I don't know that Philly, it's really health. I don't see them replicating the health. I just think that's the law of averages in the NFL. But for Washington, defensively, I still think there's some questions. Like their defensive front, pretty solid. I mean,
we talked about yesterday that their secondary might not be good enough.
Right. And I think
their secondary was in the bottom half of the league.
And I think they've got similar, like I think the Cowboys front seven better than what you've got with Washington. Washington might have the best overall linebacker with Bobby Wagner, but the Cowboys have the better, I'd say, defensive line.
They have the better quarterback right now.
And they have the better quarterback right now.
Better quarterback because you don't know how your quarterback's going to come off the injuries. Right.
Now, it's possible the Cowboys could end up with the better offensive line. Last year, that wasn't the case. I think the Cowboys' potential on the offensive line greater than Washington. I don't know that it's just like clear cut and dry, oh, Cowboys are the third in the division. I mean, I have been on record, bold prediction, Philadelphia takes a big step back I don't see Barkley being able to sustain health again this year after the workload last year, and I call them to miss the playoffs. All of these are reasons why I think the Cowboys are going to end up surprising a lot of people and finding a way to win this division.
Yeah, to me, I'm so convinced that Jaden Daniels is that dude. And so I think
I co-sign.
He's able to just make up for it. Because I agree, you don't look at the Commanders roster and just like, oh wow, this is daunting.
Yeah.
But when you factor in the Jaden Daniels thing, he was an MVP caliber dude last year.
Absolutely.
Like that's just the reality of it. He was a cheat code. Fourth downs, like they go for it. They're playing a little bit of a different game. Like some of these top teams that know I got 4 downs to play with every time. And in the red zone, Jaden Daniels was dynamite.
The pushback I would have is we had this exact same conversation with C.J. Stroud a year ago, and I do think Cliff Kingsbury, while he was awesome last year, they did also have a little bit of a lull. I do think that was mainly because of the health of Jaden Daniels. I think that was probably proven to be more so the case.
Yeah,
he wasn't running as much. Yeah. But like, can Cliff find a way now that the league's had a year of what they were doing, what they liked to do, what their strengths were, to be able to still kind of reinvent and have something up his sleeve to where, hey, their counter, what is your counter to that? So I'm so with you. I think I'm so ticked off that Jaden Daniels is in Washington because I love the guy too. I think he is top 5 quarterback, but we did just see we were ready to put C.J. Stroud on that pedestal, and there was a massive regression. It might just be, hey, in the NFL, it is tough, and I don't even know if it would necessarily be Jaden Daniels' fault. It could be play caller related. It could be other issues with his own football team, with the roster, but I do think that, like, we can't just assume anything. And same thing with Dak. The version of Dak we saw in the first 8 games last year was not good. And while the track record shows he plays great after injury, and I'm confident you'll get a good version of Dak this year as well, that's up for debate too. I don't know that that's a foregone conclusion. So still some question marks here with all these teams as we get into 2025. The NFC East is going to be fascinating to me because I think it's going to be a little bit tighter than the forecast is showing from all the other talking heads.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. I do.
What will be with the Commanders, though, we'll see what kind of bounce back that Deebo Samuel has.
Sure.
That's the thing that kind of, and
like another added dimension to the offense.
Yeah, and you talk about Cliff. Will Cliff figure out ways to use him? I think there's a lot of questions too about Terry McLaurin in that contract.
Yeah,
he's not happy.
Is that going to be? And then Brian Robinson's contract is a question mark too. There, what they're going to do there. Zach Ertz seemed to find kind of the fountain of youth as when he was playing. Mm-hmm. You kind of felt like, well, he's done, but the Commanders kind of figured out some things with him. So Samuel, McLaurin, Eckler. I mean, I know Eckler missed a lot of the season because of the concussion thing he suffered, but that guy's a difference maker. He really, really is. And they're very similar to Dallas. I mean, if you look at their offensive line, Biotish played well for them. Sam Cosmi played well at guard. And then they trade for Laramie Tunsil. Dallas has got what? Dallas has got kind of 3 offensive linemen, right? Don't you kind of feel? Well, so the Commanders, if you look at it that way.
Other questions from Joseph Hoyt, courtesy of the Morning News. Will George Pickens continue to impress? I think we're all pretty damn confident Pickens is going to be good. I think what'll be fascinating is just, the issues that he had during games, the maturity stuff. If things go wrong, is he going to be able to maintain his composure? And is he fighting fans in the stands? Is he getting into it with other teammates out of frustration? The guy wants to win, and it sounds like him and CD have a tremendous relationship. I love the fact that him and Dak have been working together, and it's a contract year. These guys typically are going to go out and have their best foot forward and ball out to try and get the paycheck. But I think a lot of tests, and you brought this up yesterday, Brian, especially with Brian Schottenheimer, when the adversity hits. There is no adversity right now. It's kumbaya time.
Yeah.
But once adversity hits, how does the team respond? And how does George Pickens respond?
You will not know about Brian Schottenheimer as a coach until it turns into we're playing live games. Then you're going to get it. And then all of a sudden, though, what if it turns into a winning streak, where it's 4 or 5 games and now the buy-in is real. Everybody's buy-in is like, okay, we're pulling for each other, we're pulling for the team. The minute that things start to go badly, that's where you'll know about Brian Schottenheimer as a coach. Because as you mentioned, Willie, right now, everybody's all feel goods. But it's when things start to go bad, then you start to see the little pockets of players like, this guy's in over his head.
Mm-hmm.
The scheme here, they've got too many college coaches. They're over their heads. You'll start to hear, this White Cotton, defensive line. He was supposed to be so damn good with the Jets. He can't coach anybody. He can't coach lions to eat red meat. You're going to hear all kinds of things when things start to go bad, and then it's going to be about Schottenheimer's ability. And it might not go bad, but if it does, that's where you're going to find out what kind of coach he is.
100%, because like right now we're loving the staff that he put together.
Yeah, you're just
all of a sudden things go wrong. It's like, this is why you don't hire a bunch of college coaches.
He should have hired a bunch of his friends that could coach.
This was a big mistake. And the 9-7-2, you guys are drinking the Kool-Aid again with the Cowboys. They're mediocre at best. I could see it. I could see the Cowboys not being good this year. Going based on the track record with this division, and I said the same thing last year. That's why I picked Washington. You don't have back-to-back champs. For whatever reason, maybe Philly can break this. We're 20-plus years now. And typically when people are down on the Cowboys, they bounce back with a year that is an overachieving type of season. And just because I think the regular season they could be good and win the division does not mean I'm projecting any type of success in the postseason.
No,
because
you're smarter
I will not
than
be
that.
fooled. I will not be fooled in that regard again. That won't happen. ESPN had the Cowboys offseason grade today as a C. Biggest move, Pickens. Move that they liked, drafting Donovan Ezeraku in the second round. Move they disliked, letting Rico Dowdle walk in exchange for Javonte Williams and Miles Sanders.
We keep talking about Rico, and I haven't got this confirmed from anybody. I think Rico was going home. I think Rico was going back to Carolina. I think he'd had enough of being here, and maybe that whole charade that we played in that one game where we had, Rico getting sick.
Oh, that Washington game, wasn't it?
Well, it was San Francisco, wasn't it?
San Francisco.
The playoff
That's
game?
right.
No,
it was this year. Remember pregame?
This year. Remember they had the fake fever and all that stuff like that?
He's out signing autographs for fans, but yet he was sick. He couldn't play.
That was weird.
To me, I think there is some real questions that if was he honestly going back to Carolina?
Well, and I thought Rico was awesome last year. I would have liked to have brought him back, but it's the first time he's ever stayed healthy in his career. And he's going into a committee in Carolina. They're not having him as the featured back. I think the Cowboys had their price and their number, and Rico thought he was going to end up getting more. You look at the deal that he got, I would have liked to have brought him back too. But we'll see. Phil Maffa, Jaden Blue, maybe these rookies step up for you. That's my hope.
If you're going to play gap scheme, I know one thing that, Voch Lombardi and I were talking about this last night. If you figure out that Jaden Blue can pass protect, he needs to be your starter.
Oh, for sure.
There's not really a need for Javonte Williams.
Yeah, if you and that's going to be the big question is, can he pass protect and can he hold on to the ball? But if you get to Oxnard and all of a sudden you see drills where he is stepping up and pass protecting and picking up the right guys, he needs to be your starter.
I love it. All right, there it is, your CNOTE here in the GBAG Nation on a Thursday. We have Bobby Carella live from Vegas talking all things Mavs and Cooper Flag. That's at the top of the hour, but coming up next, Krusty's Corner.
Yeah, I've got some questions from our guys from a media standpoint about this training camp. We'll do that next.
Coming up.